AT&T time. AT&T time.
No, let us see Verizon time.
Good afternoon, everyone,
Verizon.
and welcome to the July 21st, 2015 Delaware Public Service Commission meeting. And we have, the first thing on the agenda is a reading of the meeting minutes of July 7, 2015. Anyone wish to hear them read? Or is there perhaps an alternative we might consider?
Move we adopt the minutes as presented for July 7th, 2015.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes of July 7th, 2015? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or any abstentions, the motion passes unanimously. There's only one item on the consent agenda, and it involves Delaware Power and Light. And are there any desire to, I guess there's no sense in taking it off the consent agenda. There's only one item on the consent agenda. We usually see more than one. Is there any questions about the application, the staff memorandum, or the proposed order involved in this matter? It's a standard monthly calculation that says how much the consumers pay. Okay, judging from the response, I guess no one has any questions, and I assume no one has any opposition to what's been presented. So if someone would please make a motion concerning that 8763 proposed order.
Motion to approve order number 8763.
Second the motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 8763? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. First item we have on the agenda is in the matter of the application, not the agenda, but the regular part of our agenda, is the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for approval of changes to the transportation and balancing rider and the gas supplier schedule of its tariff. And the commissioners welcome Mr. Denman on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. I have up here with me Sarah Hardy, who's a rate analyst with Chesapeake Utilities, in case you should have any questions with respect to this docket that I don't feel I'm able to answer. In this particular docket, Chesapeake is requesting the Commission to approve certain changes to Chesapeake's transportation and balancing rider, which is in an effort to more equitably allocate the cost of pipeline capacity. The Chesapeake and the staff, through the staff's rate counsel, Mr. Geddes, and the public advocate have negotiated a proposed settlement, which was submitted to the hearing examiner for review and comment after the conclusion of a public evidentiary hearing. There were a couple interveners in this case. The United States Air Force and the Washington Gas Company. While they have not officially signed on to the settlement for whatever reason, they have not opposed the settlement. At the public evidentiary hearing, they did not voice any opposition to the settlement.
Either of those parties present? They don't appear to be present for this.
Okay, thank you. In our view, the proposed settlement represents a compromise of some sticky issues that involved in the transportation program that the company operates. The basic thrust of the settlement deals with the company's upstream capacity costs. Capacity for a gas company is basically like renting space on a pipeline. When you purchase gas in the open market, you obviously have to have a way to get it from the wellhead to the customer. And upstream capacity are the costs incurred to make sure that we have adequate space on the pipeline so that gas can flow through from the wellhead to Eastern Shore Natural Gas Company, to the Delaware Division, and to the end user. Order number 8752, which you should have before you, would adopt the findings and recommendations of the hearing examiner and basically approve the proposed settlement. With your permission, I would like to just sort of go through some of the major provisions of the settlement. If for some reason you think I'm speaking too much just interrupt me, okay, and I will shut up. But for your benefit, under the terms of the settlement, the difference between the company's total upstream firm transportation entitlements and the amount of capacity that the company will need to meet the requirements of its transportation customers and its firm customers would be released into the open market pursuant to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission capacity release rules. And the way that works is an electronic bulletin board. If you have some upstream capacity that you don't need, you can post it on the bulletin board, and anyone that has any interest in that capacity can submit a bid. And as a general rule, under those rules, the company would be required to release or sell that capacity to that bidder at the highest price. So it's a competitive market, and that's what would happen. This release capacity under the terms of the settlement would be for a period of 1 year and would be non-recallable. Those provisions were, I believe, suggested by the staff. Any money that the company receives from that release capacity will be credited to the GSR, which in effect means that the residential rates and the GSR rates would be lower than they otherwise would be, all things being equal. One of the things that the settlement specifically provides is that in the context of releasing upstream capacity, asymmetrical pricing rules would not apply. I know the chair and Commissioner Conaway remember the asymmetrical pricing case that we had several years ago. There was a big issue primarily related to the release of Eastern Shore capacity by the company. Eastern Shore is an affiliate of the company. And the staff and the DPA, over the company's objection, insisted that asymmetrical pricing rules would have to apply. And what that means is that if the company released capacity to an affiliate, for example, if Eastern Shore Natural Gas released capacity to an affiliate, like, for example, Chesapeake's marketing entity, we would have to do so at the higher of cost, our cost, or whatever the market price was. Now, in this particular case, we're dealing with upstream capacity, and part of the settlement is that those asymmetrical pricing rules will not apply. The staff and the DPA are in agreement with that. So with respect to our upstream capacity that we release, we will post it on the electronic bulletin board, and anyone out there that's interested in it would have the right to bid at it, including the company's marketing affiliate, which I believe is PESCO. So I just want to make sure the Commission understands that the asymmetrical pricing rules under the settlement will not apply to the upstream capacity. And in fact, if they did, then the settlement just wouldn't work. But just want to emphasize that both the staff and the DPA, who insisted on asymmetrical pricing in our last case, are on board with waiving asymmetrical pricing for this. Under the terms of the settlement, any capacity that is released will hopefully generate revenues. And as I mentioned, those revenues will be credited to the GSR. But in order to provide the company with an incentive to release capacity, I want to make it clear, under the terms of the settlement, 90% of the revenues will be credited to the GSR. The company will be allowed to retain 10% of those revenues as an incentive. The difference between the company's actual cost of release capacity and that 90% credit, under the terms of the settlement, will be allocated to not just the firm customers, but also to the transportation customers. I think the staff and the DPA wanted, in general terms, to have the transportation customers bear a more equitable portion of these capacity costs. One of the issues in the case were balancing fees, and under the terms of the settlement, the company's balancing fees will include the cost of upstream capacity that the company uses to balance a transportation customer's gas needs. Again, if I'm speaking too much, but just so some of the newer commissioners understand just what balancing is all about, is when you're a transportation customer, you have to give the company a general idea of how much gas you want to have delivered to your system every day, and the company acts on that. But that's not how much you tell the company you're going to need versus what you actually use on a given day is never going to be the same. So the company has to balance those swings, and it uses resources in order to do that, and so it charges a balancing fee. So with respect to the balancing charges, under the existing tariff, not all transportation customers are charged a balancing fee. Just, I believe, the larger customers are charged a balancing fee. Under the settlement, and Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, all transportation customers will be paying a balancing fee now because we provide balancing services to all of our transportation customers. The settlement also provides for certain modifications to specific tariff language. A copy of the tariff, a red line version, is attached to the proposed settlement agreement, and it points out that changes in the language of the tariff. They're not necessarily substantive changes, they're just to make the program work better. And again, the staff and the DPA are comfortable with those changes. The other terms and conditions are spelled out. I tried to cover the more basic terms and conditions of the settlement. So the staff, the company, and the DPA all support the settlement and the hearing examiner's report. One final point, we were provided with a copy of proposed order number 8752 today, and I know you receive your information in packets ahead of time. We picked up a couple, I would say, typographical errors, and so it's my understanding that Jason Smith has forwarded to you a corrected version of that order, and that's what you have in front of you. But just to go quickly through the changes so you're not surprised, the date of the order was wrong. It was July 7th, and it should be the 21st. There's a reference in paragraph 1 to Exhibit 2 when it should be Exhibit 1. And then more significant, the effective date of the draft you originally received was, I believe, in April of 2015. And I think perhaps maybe the hearing examiner thought we would have this on the docket before that. But in any event, that's been changed to make the effective date September 1, 2015, which I believe corresponds with the date that Chesapeake will file its next GSR proceeding.
Thank you, Mr. Denman.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Denman. Well done. Any questions by any of the parties? Any comments by staff?
Good afternoon, Chairman Winslow, Commissioners. As Mr. Denman stated, Mr. Geddes represented staff on this matter, and unfortunately he was unable to attend today. But I do believe that for staff, Mr. Denman has very accurately summarized the settlement agreement, and we are, I guess I should say I am satisfied with the settlement agreement and urge the Commission adopt it. And of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I mean, it's unfortunate for us that Mr. Geddes couldn't make it, but fortunate for him that he couldn't. He's on vacation, I understand. Mr. Bonar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Denman has done an exquisite job of explaining the intricacies of the settlement agreement and given us a primer 101 on some of the finer points of it, and we're in accordance with the order.
He gave us a good balance and spin. Is there anyone else here from the public or from Washington Energy Services or the Dover Air Force Base that wishes to make comment upon this proposed order? Are there any commissioners that have any questions of any of the parties with respect to the proposed order? Commissioner Drexler.
I have a question about Belmont turnout.
How active is the bidding market, the bulletin board and the bidding market? If you release this upstream capacity, is it pretty much assured that the capacity is sold? Are there active bidders all the time?
Well, we haven't been releasing capacity, okay, because of the asymmetrical pricing rules. That created some regulatory issues with us. But the way the system works is, as I described it, you post it on and Sarah, you correct me if I'm wrong, you post it on a bulletin board, and the companies that are familiar with how to operate a gas business, they watch that like a hawk. And if they need the upstream capacity, they know when and how to submit a bid. And then those bids are tallied. I think there's probably time restrictions in terms of when the bids come in, but they're tallied, and as a general rule, under the FERC capacity release rules, you have to release the capacity to the company that submits the highest bid.
And you mentioned something about the highest bid versus the highest cost to you. And so will you know at the time of that, you'll know at the time of that bid if it's going to be the highest cost or the highest bidder cost, but you sell it at the lower of those two or the higher of those two?
We sell, under the capacity release rules, the capacity would be released and sold at the highest bid price, irrespective of what Chesapeake Utilities may have paid for that capacity, okay? Now, in the asymmetrical pricing rules, one of the concerns was, well, and this is just in general, and the numbers probably make absolutely no sense. You're paying $5 for that capacity, and now you want to release it per the capacity release rules, and somebody may only be willing to pay $2 for that capacity. So the reality of the situation is we have to pay $5 for that capacity because it's firm capacity that we're guaranteed space on that pipeline. And we have to pay that, and we have to lock in that far in advance of when we're actually using it. So hopefully you get it right, but the realities of the marketplace is in many situations, and most of the time, you're going to have more upstream capacity than you actually need at that given point in time. So the way you sort of mitigate the $5 that you're paying is under this situation, you'll release it per the capacity release rules, and hopefully you'll get a bid, and that will be credited against what your costs. What asymmetrical pricing said is that in that hypothetical, if you're going to release that capacity to one of your affiliates, like Chesapeake has an affiliate that's a marketer that sells gas, and they compete with other marketers that are in that business. And so the asymmetrical pricing rules said, well, look, if you paid $5 for that capacity and you try to release it and your affiliate is the highest bidder, but they only bid $2, we're going to require you to charge the affiliate $5, not $2. And if you only charge it $2, then you're supposed to act like you actually got $5. And so that's sort of what asymmetrical pricing, just in very general terms, and that creates problems. But the whole purpose of the asymmetrical pricing rules is that when you're dealing with an affiliate, some regulatory bodies get a little suspicious, and so they've adopted this rule that if you're selling your affiliate something, it has to be whatever you paid for it or whatever the market price is, whichever is higher.
Thank you.
Commissioner Correa?
The loss, $5 to $2 loss, does the company bears it, the shareholders goes to net income, or it goes to the GSR?
Goes through the GSR. And
it's allocated to
Yeah,
not
but-
just through the
Yeah.
GSR, but also to our transportation customers through a component of the balancing rate.
right under
Under this
and
proposal.
one of the benefits of the settlement vis-a-vis the firm sales customers is that, unlike the past, where that difference would all be borne by the firm sales customers, a portion of that will be allocated to the transportation customers through the balancing fee, and also through allocating any shortfall among the sales customers and the transportation customers based on a formula that's spelled out in the settlement.
And will that be the same thing if there is a profit? Say, for example, you bought it at $2 and you are selling it at $5. Will the profit will have the same steps to allocate the profit also?
I think with respect to the capacity charges that the company incurs, that $5, in very simplistic terms, is billed to the customers at $5. Okay, not higher, not lower. Okay, so there's no profit in there. That's what, if the company pays $5 for the capacity, the customers only pay $5. There's no profit. On the other hand, if the company released capacity per the FERC capacity release rules, and because of some unforeseeable economic situation at the time, the people were willing to pay more than $5 for that capacity, then 90% of whatever they paid. If they paid $10, 90% of $10 would go to the GSR. Did that answer your question?
Very much so.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That appears to be all the questions. Do I have a motion with respect to this proposed order?
I so move that order number 8752 be adopted as it is corrected or revised, the one we got it this morning, today.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the proposed order? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Denman. Stacy, Jason. Next matter on the calendar is in the matter of the application of United Water Delaware Incorporated concerning the establishment of a distribution system improvement charge. And we have the voice of United Water with us.
Good morning, afternoon, good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hubbard. Are you going to announce the application?
I am simply here to represent United Water to compliment the due diligence and hard work of the staff, and that we agree with the findings that result in this order.
Okay, is it Ms. Donahue on this one?
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. You have before you proposed order number 8765. This matter deals with two different DSIC filings made by United Water Delaware, Inc. The first one set a DSIC rate, which the Commissioners approved, of 5.28% for the period beginning January 1st until the end of June 30th of 2014. The second docket, which again the DSIC was approved by the Commission, was reset to 6.85%, and the Commission again approved that back in June. Staff has conducted the annual DSIC audit and found that the findings were in compliance with Delaware laws and that there was an under collection by a net amount of $53,357. Therefore, staff would urge the Commissioners to adopt as final the DSIC rate of 5.28% from January 1st of 2014 through June 30th of 2014, and the DSIC rate of 6.85% for the period in effect from July 1st of 2014 through December 31st of 2014. Staff also urges this Commission to close both the dockets 13-472 and 14-192. The order would adopt both of these recommendations. It would not preclude the examination or challenge of any of these numbers in a base rate proceeding, and it would close both of these dockets. So staff would urge the Commission to approve order number 8765.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue. Mr. Bonar,
I'm satisfied with the form of the closing of the docket.
is there anyone else present from the public or otherwise who wishes to speak on this matter? Any questions from the Commissioners with respect to the proposed order?
I move that we adopt order number 8765 as presented.
I second.
Are there any, is there any discussion with respect to the motion to approve proposed order 8765? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Hubbard, thank you, sir.
If it pleases the Commission, I would like to respectfully give our best wishes to the newest members of the Commission, whom I have not had the pleasure of meeting as of prior to today, and also those who may be soon departing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Number 3 on the calendar is the matter of the application to Delmarva Power and Light Company for approval of a 2015 program for the procurement of solar renewable energy credits. And we have Ms. Scott with us. Welcome, Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. The order before you is the final findings of fact, conclusions of law, and final opinion of the Commission. in support of the previous order that you issued approving Delmarva's 2015 SREC program. You may recall that we had an evidentiary hearing before you back in March of this year, had a number of witnesses provided testimony with respect to the proposed program and the changes from the prior year. You issued your order in support of our program, and this is simply the final culmination of all the evidence that was presented in support of that order. I worked closely with staff's counsel, Ms. Donahue, as well as DPA's counsel, Ms. Iori, on the language of this order, and we're all in agreement. So I would respectfully request that you approve the order as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Ms. Donahue?
Yes, Ms. Scott has done a nice summary, as always. I'd like to note there was one typo that I missed before on page 3. At the very top, and I apologize for this, in tier N-2, there should be 2,300 SRECs and not 2.300 SRECs. But other than that, staff did work with the company and with the DPA's office to get this in final form. We believe that it has all of the evidence that was supporting the reasoning that the commission relied upon in adopting the prior order number 8717, and therefore we would urge the commission to approve and adopt order number 8764.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue. Mr. Bonar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Advocate's Office is in support of order number 8764.
Thank you, Mr. Bonar. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to be heard on this matter? I would just like to say that the people who've been working in this area, I guess Pam Knotts from the staff, and of course Pam Scott, and more, I guess I shouldn't say more importantly, but also Glenn Moore and the other members of that team. It seems to me they've done a really good job. It's we compare favorably, I think, with the states that surround us. It seems like it's had a fair amount of success, and I hope that Glenn Moore's predictions about the future are as we expect, and it all goes well. But just might want to express our appreciation to everyone for the fine work they're doing in this area. Any questions, any members of the commission with respect to the proposed order?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a couple. For clarification, please. Let's start on page 9. Near the bottom, it says there was testimony regarding proposed regulations as they existed in December of 2015. Is that an accurate?
15. That must have been another typo that I made. So,
okay, but for clarification, should that be different in some way?
It should be December of 2014.
Okay, that's simple. Can someone then on page 7, if I go near the top of the page, finally, if a system is bid into the auction, the system wants a bonus for using labor from Delaware, materials from Delaware not identified as qualifying, the SEU has the option to not return the bid deposit, decline to enter into a transfer agreement. Can someone briefly just explain what that means to me? Not too complicated.
Could you give the line?
It says here, the 7th line down. If a system is bid into the auction, summary is the SEU has the option to not return the bid deposit and decline to enter into a transfer agreement with the owner of such system. Brief explanation. Anybody?
Page 7, line 7. It starts with at 18, period. Finally, if a system is bid, and then 4 lines down, a bonus, the SCU has the option to not return the bid deposit and decline to enter into a transfer agreement with the owner of such system. This was Mr. Moore's testimony.
I believe this has to do when we're talking about the about qualifying for the additional bonus associated with this program if you use Delaware labor or Delaware equipment. In which case, if it turns out that you don't qualify for that bonus, even though you've submitted a bid, that we are not required, the SU is not required to return the bid if if your bid does not go forward. They are not required to return the deposit because the application was incorrect.
My recollection, whatever that's worth, is that that's, an incentive to make sure people are fair and square in their
Correct.
dealings with the auction.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Anyone care to make a motion on proposed order 8764?
Chair, I'll move that the Commission adopt order number 8764 as revised.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on approving the motion to approve the proposed order number 8764 as revised by the comments made by Commissioner Gray and the answers of Ms. Donahue? Hearing none, all those in favor of proposed order 8764 revised, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody in opposition? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Scott, and Ms. Donahue, and Mr. Bodnar. Fourth matter we have is the matter of the petition of Artesian Water Company for revision to rates assessed pursuant to interconnection agreements, north and south. And the Commission welcomes Mr. Schreppler.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, staff, and the public advocate. My name's Jack Schreppler. I'm Vice President and General Counsel of Artesian Water Company, which for ease of reference today I'll refer to as Artesian Delaware. I have those same titles for Artesian Water Maryland, Inc., which is also involved in this docket. Just a little background. Artesian Delaware's supply is mostly self-supply of some 80-some well fields throughout Delaware. Most of those well fields are in the Delaware River Basin, or the Delaware River watershed. And so they are regulated by the Delaware Department of Natural Resources, but withdrawals of 100,000 or more, 100,000 gallons per day, are also regulated by the Delaware River Basin Commission, which is an interstate compact created by Congress. And that's the states of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. Artesian Delaware purchases some of its water from Chester Water Authority, which is located in Chester County, Delaware County, and Chester County, Pennsylvania. Chester Water Authority obtains, I believe, all of its water from the Octorara Creek, which is in the Susquehanna River Basin, and therefore withdrawals are regulated by the Susquehanna River Basin Commission, or SRBC. And the SRBC charges what's called an out-of-basin transfer fee. So water that's taken out of the Susquehanna River Basin and used in the Delaware River Basin, there is a surcharge. From time to time, the SRBC increases that surcharge, and Chester Water Authority passes that through to its customers, including Artesian Delaware. And that's what brings us here today. The SRBC increased the surcharge for out-of-basin transfers by half a penny per 1,000 gallons. And that will become effective on Artesian by contract with Chester Water Authority September 15th of this year. What we are here today doing is petitioning to revise two interconnection rates that Artesian Delaware has in Maryland. One of them is the rate that Artesian Delaware charges our affiliate, Artesian Maryland, for water, and that rate is regulated by your commission, I think also the Maryland Commission, to make sure that it's fair to Delaware and Maryland. And that rate is a function of the rate that Artesian Delaware pays to Chester Water Authority, plus I think a 10% margin to pay for the energy cost of pumping and so forth. Artesian Delaware also has an interconnection with the town of Chesapeake City, and that interconnection is actually in the state of Delaware. So that rate is also regulated by your commission. And that is also a function of the Chester Water Authority rate. So in effect, we're asking for your approval to pass through that half penny per 1,000-gallon surcharge to our affiliate in Maryland and to the town of Chesapeake City. I want to thank staff for particularly Ms. Donahue for preparing the memorandum in the form of order. And also, we all make mistakes. Artesian had a mistaken effective date, and we caught that late last week, and Ms. Donahue helped us get that corrected and get a proper form of order and memorandum before you.
Thank you, Mr. Schreppler. Ms. Donahue?
Yes. As Mr. Schreppler has summarized with much more background than I could ever do, this is sort of a continuation of what the Commission has in the past already approved in different situations. And these rates are in effect between Artesian and its affiliates. This is in effect combining two different dockets that we've had in the past and asking for a mild increase in the rates that are going to be passed through to these affiliates. And as stated in the order, and as Mr. Schreppler has pointed out, it's a 0.005 increase that's being passed through. For one of the interconnection agreements with Artesian Maryland, there's also the 10% transmission fee that Mr. Schreppler referred to that's also going to be added. And with the town of Chesapeake, Maryland, there is a 20% transmission fee in addition to a customer service charge that is equal to what the company would charge a customer if they have a 6-inch meter. Is that correct? 6-inch meter?
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Valcarengi is with me. I forgot to introduce him. This is David Valcarengi from our rates department.
But that's not changing.
Right. I'm pointing out that that's the same, for that, but that's only for the town of Chesapeake, correct? Okay. All right. So with proposed order number 8766, the pass-through rates would be approved by the Commission at the numbers that are set forth in the order for the two different companies. It's also not going to be construed as rate-making treatment. And the effective date, as pointed out by Mr. Schreppler in the amended petition, is going to be September 15th of 2015, which gives the Commission gives the Commission the required 60 days prior notice before the rate changes go into effect. So staff would support the Commission adopting order number 8766.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue. Mr. Bonar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were in support of 8764.
Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to be heard with respect to this proposed order? Is this a proposed order that perhaps should be on the consent agenda in the future, if it's going to be fairly routine and pass through? Just a rhetorical question, not no answer necessary. It seems like we've had the number of these now over the last few years, and they're all, the same speech about the pass through. And it's always a very de minimis amount of money, and it's always with the same conditions attached that Ms. Donahue indicated. So I just throw that out as food for thought. And any questions by any of the commissioners?
Yes. I know it's tiny, but if you go from 3.773 to 3.779 and 4.116 to 4.112, isn't that a 0.006 change, or is it just some rounding difference?
I believe that staff confirmed that because the transmission fee, am I saying that right, of 10% is being added on to, that is including that 10%. So it's not going to add up like I would assume too. It's including that transmission fee also.
Okay.
So yeah, we questioned those numbers, and staff did confirm the calculations were correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Move we adopt order number 8766 as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 8766? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Are you opposing or no? Okay. Motion passes unanimously.
I just wanted to say on your next item of business, I wanted to say congratulations to Ms. Dillard and thank her for her faithful service.
So not only are you going to interrupt me, you're going to also announce in advance what's happening next. Thank you, Mr. Schreppler. Well, that is a good introduction to our next item on the calendar, and we've been not all of the. Of course, we have some new commissioners, but Janice has been around for quite some time, and she's came to us before I arrived with a lot of experience in the public sector. And I know she was a consultant for quite a long period of time. So she came to us and very qualified, very prepared, very much an expert, and has contributed for a great deal to this state over a period of 15 years, which may have seemed like a little bit longer than 15 to her, but it was.
Gone very fast.
Okay, well, that's,
Like it does when you get older.
yeah, I think it's the case. All of us commissioners are very pleased and proud of Ms. Dillard and her efforts on behalf of the state and this commission, and we certainly wish her well in retirement, and it wouldn't be surprising if we see her back again in some capacity. Hopefully she takes a nice long vacation before she does that. And I'm not doing well with my voice today, so I've asked Commissioner Conaway if she'd be kind enough to read this resolution from the commission in appreciation for Ms. Dillard's work, and we ask that Ms. Dillard come up here for, I think the photographer's got the camera. Does Bob have his camera? I guess someone. So come on up here, Janice, and we're going to have Ms.
Do you want to
Commissioner
stand
Conaway
and I'll
read it.
sit, or?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Be it known by these presents that the Public Service Commission of the State of Delaware expresses deep appreciation to Janice L. Dillard for her loyal and distinguished service as Public Utility Analyst, Regulatory Policy Administrator, Senior Regulatory Policy Administrator, Deputy Director, and Acting Executive Director during the period August 1st, 2000 to August 1st, 2015. Whereas Janice L. Dillard faithfully served the Public Service Commission as Public Utility Analyst, Regulatory Policy Administrator, and Senior Regulatory Policy Administrator for 9 years and 2 months, and whereas Janice L. Dillard faithfully served the Public Service Commission as Deputy Director for 5 years and 4 months, and Acting Executive Director for 6 months, and whereas Janice L. Dillard's organized work habits and willingness to take on difficult assignments served as an example to other staff members, and whereas Janice L. Dillard was Employee of the Year in 2002, received the Department of Administrative Services Exceptional Team Service Award in December 2002, was nominee for the Delaware Award for Excellence in Commitment in State Service in 2003, and whereas Janice L. Dillard was instrumental in coordinating and testifying on Delmarva Peninsula congestion issues at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, working to reduce high Delaware energy costs, and whereas Janice L. Dillard was responsible for all staff's federal and regional energy actions taken by the Commission, and for managing all major utility applications while coordinating PSC responses to the Renewable Energy Portfolio Standards Act of 2005 and the Electric Utilities Retail Customer Supply Act of 2006, and whereas Janice L. Dillard effectively coordinated the Commission's efforts on the Potomac Electric Power Company Delmarva Power merger and the recent Exelon Pepco Holdings utility merger, and whereas Janice L. Dillard has managed and implemented the Commission's new electronic filing system known as DelaFile, and whereas Janice L. Dillard has continually offered her expert professional advice and counsel to several executive directors, PSC commissioners, and PSC staff throughout her career. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Janice L. Dillard is hereby commended and congratulated for her years of devoted service to the people of the state of Delaware. This action of the Public Service Commission of the state of Delaware will be formally entered into the permanent record of the Commission's actions and minutes by resolution of the Commission this 21st day of July, AD 2015.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to express my gratitude for you to having allowed me to spend the last 15 years of my career here. And I started my career, as Dallas said, as a consultant in Washington, D.C., where I did analytical and technical work. And it provided a great foundation for the work I did here, which was kind of layering on the policy considerations. So it's been a 33-year career, and I enjoy it very much. And I've done some exciting things, including the 59% rate increase and revenue decoupling and a lot of, issues that turned up in the newspaper. And I've been able to try to explain to the legislature the impact of their actions when they got upset when things didn't turn out the way they thought. So it's been exciting, and I'm just going to spend some of my time finishing some of the unfinished projects I have around my home and doing some consulting with a former partner from the consulting firm. And I want to spend some time, able to sleep past 4:30 in the morning and spend some time with my family. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Schreppler, would you like to say something officially?
Thank you.
Can I have your business card? Janice, he wants a business card.
I'll send you my contact information.
Absolutely.
I guess, Janice, you've been with the commission about as long as I've been with the company. So it's going to be a big change for me because, to me, you were always someone who was very easy to speak to, very honest, incredibly friendly, and holding up on you can Janice is the capacity of the world's worst focus on this. If she's not happy, it's all over her. And she doesn't, she's just honest, she's incredibly intelligent. And, I just enjoyed working with you, and I've enjoyed just talking with you because you're really an incredibly nice person to sit down with. And you're just as happy to speak about things not related to work. You're just a great personality and a really nice person. I hope you are going to be consulting. I hope I'm going to get to keep working with you. I also think you are just a very interesting person. You have a lot going on in your life. You're very unique. And it's been very pleasant working with you over these years. You are one of a person I just think very highly of. Just last week, when we were on a large conference call with LEI, London Economics, we're sort of doing a joint Delmarva staff working together on seeing if there are ways we could improve the standard offer service acquisition process, which we tend to do from time to time. And LEI, the consultants, quite a few of them on the call, asking a lot of questions. It was actually a very nice conference. Different from all different areas of the company and staff on there responding to these very broad-ranging questions. But so many times they would get deep into things as to how the program began, how it started, why certain things were done. And Janice, it was like it happened yesterday. You would say, Janice, to the moon, she would just talk about why something decision was made, not just because the consultants at the time recommended it, why they recommended it, what they had looked at, and she explained it so well. And so that, I guess, is the latest example of the type of value she brings, and she delivers it with just a confidence. She says it once, you understand it, and so not only as a person, I want to miss her, not only for her honesty, but her skill and abilities are really amazing. And she's so non-pretentious. Just a quiet, pleasant person, but very deep and very confident. So I will miss you as an individual, and I think the whole state's going to miss you. But again, I just hope to have the opportunity of knowing you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. For purposes of the record only, I would move that the commission approve the resolution of appreciation for Janice L. Diller.
I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion other than we've already had? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And there's no opposed, and there's no opposition. Congratulations and our best wishes and our many thanks for all you've done for us in the state of Delaware And maybe Mr. Bonar wants to speak too?
Yes, I think I might. When I look at the staff that I have in the Public Advocate's office, I think that each one of us, well, has the same memory of you, I think, alike. I mean, you've been through every public advocate except the original one, I believe, from Pat Stoll to me. And I think we all equate you with Mother Superior, who is more than willing to explain and more than willing to teach and sometimes willing to use the ruler when it needs to be used. And all of us respect what you have taught us. You've taught some of us more than others. It has been difficult for you to teach some of us. But I think what you brought to the table in my short period of time with the Commission taught me more about regulatory affairs than I ever thought I'd be capable of learning. And even though I know just enough now to get into trouble, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the consulting side of the table because I know you'll bring a lot of benefit to the people of this state that you haven't already done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonar. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to make any comment to the Commission?
Make your computer easier.
Mr. Howard?
Windows will read this list. Cancel.
Chairman Winslow, Commissioners, good afternoon. Just when you thought it would never end, he didn't ask me if I had any comments about Janice.
I recognize that you're not shy, shrinking violet, and you will definitely say what you want to say.
One of the things that I would definitely like to point out is that Janice hasn't turned beet red yet. Obviously, this means we haven't really done enough to highlight everything associated with her career. I have to tell you that I've worked for Janice at the Commission office, and I've worked with Janice at the Commission office, and there is absolutely nobody that I would ever wish any of us had to work with but Janice. She's absolutely been the best to me. I will certainly miss her counsel. Whenever I'm going off the deep end, Janice would not hesitate to pull me back in and show me the error of my ways. So, Matt, you have your work cut out for you. But in any event, Janice, I certainly cannot say enough about you, and I thank you for your support over the last 15 years that you've been here.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
With that, I guess we're going to have to let her go. I do have her mobile phone number. Unless she elects to change it, I know my favorite consultant at this point in time, so we will draw upon your expertise as much as we can, even after you leave our hallowed halls here. So thank you for everything.
Thanks,
Janice.
Bob. It's been great working with you. I'm just sorry you didn't take my advice more often.
I am so going to miss this.
She is red.
Yes, she is.
For those of you who have been watching our struggles as we move through the new wonderful electronic medium as video streaming, you will notice that we hopefully have video streaming back on board here at the Public Service Commission. We hope to keep it on board. We've had some maintenance issues and some learning experiences that we've been through. We hope that we will have this available to us at all of our meetings. We are currently looking at, for those of you who have a historical bent, we're looking at archiving some of these sessions, at least the last 2 or 3 months, on the website. And we will be working to make that happen so that if your memory is failing, such as some of us older folks have that problem, and you want to go back and review something at the commission meeting, you'll be able to do that. We will also be archiving them permanently on disk, so we can always provide copies of our meetings to anybody who's interested in them. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're still working through our problems, but hopefully we'll have our video streaming under control. And I will no longer have to hit myself on the head when something goes wrong, or Dave Bonar won't have to look over at me and smile and say, "Aren't you dumb for trying that out?" So, in any event. Other than that, our next commission meeting is August 4th. Look forward to seeing you, if not here in person on the video screen. Thank you, Chairman Winslow, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Commissioner Gray.
Mr. Chair and Bob, I'm hoping, Bob, you don't come to regret not taking Janice's advice more than she regrets it. So, and Janice, I didn't have an opportunity to work very much with you, but everything I've heard and seen is phenomenal. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Mr. Chair, I did attend a meeting, and I was interested if you have the time for me to take 5 minutes for some feedback to the commissioners.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Folks, I attended a meeting a week ago of the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, and they hold these meetings several times a year so that commissioners can come together and not only train, but network and learn best practices, as well as what's emerging on the horizon of the future. And I thought that especially some of my newer colleagues on the commission might be interested to hear a couple of high-level topics that are resonating with commissioners in many of the other states. We can all expect a next generation of 911 in the new IP/IT broadband world, with text messaging and services moving from landlines to mobile and wireless. And so this means emergency services still need to locate 911 callers. So some questions amongst commissioners is which service commission will be responsible for 911 reliability issues when a call may touch multiple states to make an end-to-end connection? How in the increasingly mobile and wireless world will the emergency responders be able to have a positional awareness? They may find people by way of GPS in a high-rise in New York City, but in which apartment will they find folks if they need to actually locate them? I did hear one speaker make a comment that years ago he would overhear telecom executives tell the energy utility folks that, we can't do telecom without energy. We need you guys because we need the power. But more and more frequently now, because of wireless controls and the Internet of Everything, there was a story that was revealed of a power company in the Midwest that on one Friday night called their telecom folks because they had a hiccup in their communications. And they got a recording that said, we have stopped providing services for our copper infrastructure on weekends. Call us back on Monday. And so the implications here are that the utility customers now are on risk because more and more frequently the utility provider, the energy provider, is in need of the telecom services and infrastructure. And so telecoms are beginning to abandon their old copper wire infrastructure. So how much collaboration is happening between utilities and telecom executives to make this transition manageable? Another topic that is resonating is cybersecurity. So as customers abandon their landline phone services, voice over IP, smartphones, and wireless services are dominating the telecom landscape. So many more companies are providing these services, and then the ability to secure networks from hackers, identity thieves, even terrorists is becoming very complex and challenging. NARUC has organized a committee to develop strategies and best practices for protecting critical infrastructure and managing cybersecurity. And we need to be sure that our state energy, telecom, water utilities are engaged with NARUC as well as the Delaware State Fusion Center for Homeland Security so that we are taking the best practices and due diligence in our landscape as well. One other topic is Lifeline. This is a Federal Communications Commission program to stimulate the deployment of broadband both the infrastructure and connectivity to rural and underprivileged regions of our cities and our countryside. And so a Lifeline program was discussed, which would pay a subsidy of about $9.25 a month per qualifying household to help pay for broadband access. The details and final admin procedures may not yet be finalized, but I'd be interested to know if we as a commission and our staff are looking at the program, perhaps its deployment in our own region. One of the last things, and Chairman Winslow, you might want to comment on this, the OPSI board passed a resolution supporting CAPS funding, and that has to do with public advocate participation more in some of the NARUC activities. So I'll call your attention to two related news articles this week, which makes last week's NARUC meetings timely and relevant for the Commission to consider. If you read the news journal about the 911 burnout, that speaks to a little bit about, some of the challenges right there on the ground in the back office of 911 operations, as well the Newcastle County Fusion Center, which brings together a lot of the mindset trying to protect our infrastructure and communications against the threats. So these growing challenges and complexities across utilities landscape will consume more time and attention from state commissions. And for my newest colleagues, you may soon come to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, like me. Thanks, Mr. Chair, Bob, for these few minutes and for feedback from neighbors.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Appreciate your comments. Anything else for the commission to consider? Looks like not. So thank you all much for attending, and have a good day. Adjourned.
Thank you.